The Philippines has a fairly high rate of this issue with more than 16% of the population living below the issues line. Because of the many people reliant on agriculture for an income and equality in wealth distribution, about 17.6 million Filipinos struggle to afford basic necessities. Now, from 2015 to 2020, the rate of this issue declined from 21.6% to 16.6%. Good morning, everyone. We are the Circle Group number 1, and we're going to talk about poverty as one of the issues in our country. Now, poverty has proven to be one of the most significant challenges facing this country and its citizens. Filipinos are having a hard time surviving in such difficult conditions and more are falling into extreme poverty. Now, poverty, according to dictionary, is a state of one who lacks usual of money or material possessions. Poverty is something we can't ignore. This is because everywhere we go, there are always people who are asking for alms. Now, according to the Asian Development Bank, the major causes of poverty include low economic growth, a weak agricultural sector, increased population rates, and a high volume of inequality. Because of these factors, there are a lot of effects of poverty in the Philippines that make it difficult for people to live in such circumstances.
So thank you for that, Corinne. Widespread corruption in both Filipino politics and business prevents any opportunities for social mobility and growth. Power is concentrated among influential families and connected individuals, offering the too little chance of bettering themselves. There is a never-ending cycle of poverty that leads to parents having to give up on their children in hopes they will never have a better life in somewhere else. There is a little doubt that poverty creates a culture for the creation of orphans. Many parents living in poverty are unable to take care of their children as they cannot afford food, shelter, clothes, healthcare, and education. They are not able to adequately provide for their children, which leaves some to resort to placing their children in orphanages, in the hopes that they will have a better life.
What are the major effects of poverty to our nation and to the people? First is the inability to afford housing. With poverty plaguing the country and the employment opportunities being scarce, many Filipinos are unable to afford housing, which puts them in danger of turning to the streets for accommodation. In 2012, extreme poverty within the Philippines affected 19.2% of the population, or around 18.4 million people. This poverty line survived on $1.25 a day, making it extremely difficult to rise out of poverty and find affordable housing for Filipinos and their families. Second is malnutrition. Hunger is one of the extreme effects of the poverty in the Philippines. With little money to buy food, Filipinos are having to survive on very limited food. Even when food supplies are stable, they are most accessible in the areas where people have enough income to purchase the food. And with such an equal distribution of income, there is a low demand for food supplies in less developed areas that are home to low income residents. The quality of food is also decreasing. Rice used to be the main source of food for Filipinos, but now it has been largely replaced with instant noodles, which is cheaper but less nutritious. As a result, malnutrition has become a lot more common. Third is child labor. With poverty taking a toll on Filipinos, parents often can't make enough money to support their families. Children then have to be taken out of school to work in harsh conditions. Statistics show that around 3.6 million children from ages 5 to 17 are child laborers in the Philippines. This is 15.9% of the entire population. Fourth is crime and thievery. With conditions so troublesome, people often resort to crime and thievery to survive. Research found that one of the overwhelming reasons to steal is due to difficulties caused by poverty. Without proper employment, people turn to stealing, especially since families' sizes are rather large. and there are a lot of people to provide for. There are too many people and not enough resources. And with such conditions, people became desperate and practiced drastic measures to provide themselves and their families. Even with later statistics found in 2015, 20.1% of the population live below the poverty line. Conditions do not seem to be improving, but there is always the hope for new development. As a result, it is important to understand the effects of poverty in the Philippines because it is a country in need of assistance.
So, what are the steps that the government, national or international organizations, and even individuals are going to help solve this problem? The Filipino government is actively trying to speed up its poverty reduction plan. Their long term goal is to be able to provide more economic prospects, which in turn would help many of their citizens earn a higher or more stable income. A report by the World Bank shows how this economic growth helped decline the rate of poverty. Some factors that resulted in drop in poverty are the expansion of jobs outside the agriculture sector, government transfers, and getting qualified Filipinos to help through the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program. This particular program, which is a government cash handout project, has helped reduce poverty by 25%. One of the key strategies to help bring down poverty in the Philippines is providing birth control to the poor. In radical move for the heavily populated Catholic country, the president made readily available birth control to nearly 6 million women who cannot afford it. The goal for the Philippine government is to create more jobs, improve productivity, invest in health and nutrition while focusing on reducing poverty. If the government can execute its plan successfully, it is capable of reducing poverty in the Philippines by 13 to 15% by 2022.
So, to elaborate more about the topic, one of the ways to end poverty is through economic security, which implies that individuals have the right stuff and strength they need to withstand hard financial occasions and develop their wages. Planned worldwide attempts to beat destitution by aiding networks around the globe acquire financial security they need to flourish. This incorporates preparing individuals living in neediness to procure the abilities and information they need to get a business and backing their families. So, the number one priority is creating more and better jobs to offer opportunity for the poor to lift themselves out of poverty. Since 2 out of 5 of the country's poor are in Mindanao, unlocking Mindanao's potential is critical in bringing down poverty in the entire country. So, anti-poverty programs increasingly target disadvantages on multiple outcomes to address current and future poverty. Every one of these improvements give us trust that destitution can be survived. It isn't all that difficult. So, however, here is the subsequent story, a similar and significant one. The Philippines need to accomplish more to end poverty. So, while poverty has declined, there are as yet around 22 million helpless Filipinos starting at 2015. These helpless families frequently live in rustic regions with restricted admittance to quality schools, well-being focuses, and safe drinking water. Also, streets and transportation that will help them to go to their positions or offer their produced for sale to the public. So, anyways, conventional evaluation exercises, however, mostly estimates programs that impact separately. We present a framework, drawing from the counting approach that captures the joint distribution of disadvantages and allow evaluating programs impact on multiple disadvantages. So we apply the framework to scrutinize the Philippines conditional cash transfer program using an embedded randomized control trial survey. So examining the program's impact on the distribution of multiple disadvantages overall, but did not necessarily benefit the families experiencing a higher number of disadvantages simultaneously. So our results exemplify the valuable contribution of considering the joint distribution of disadvantages in evaluating the anti-poverty program's impact. So I think that's all for our topic. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you all for listening. Have a good day and peace out.